We don't have a dark sky ordinance. We have a
No, we
pale
don't,
skies.
but we have a lighting ordinance.
Significant.
Oh, is it considered an ordinance?
We do have a lighting
Okay.
one, so, but we
Okay.
don't require lights.
6:30.
Live at 6:30.
You need to fix that
Wait
clock.
Yeah, we do need to fix the clock. Okay.
Oh, yeah, just a little behind.
Just a little
Yeah,
behind.
he'll come in when we get started here. Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming out to our Planning Commission meeting tonight. We always appreciate public coming out. If you would just bow your heads for a word of prayer, and then after that, rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity, as always, for all of us to come out together in unity to just look at ordinances and look at applications and make decisions based on the county code. We ask for your wisdom and your guidance as we do this tonight. We ask you to bless and protect this great county we live in. We ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, any questions about the agenda tonight? If not, we'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay, any conflicts of interest to be declared for any members of the Planning Commission for anything on the agenda tonight? Nope. Having seen none, we are going to now move into a period of public comment. If you'll note, number 6, the rezone application is a continuation of a public hearing. So if anybody wants to talk about that specifically, you'll have an opportunity to talk about that. But for anything else on the agenda, we're now in a period of public comment. I will say that we have 3 letters specifically here that we're going to read tonight. But if anybody's here that wrote the letter, if you'd like to come up and talk, or if you're happy with us to read that letter in, either way is fine. So I'll give you guys an opportunity to come up and talk. If not, I'll read.
Is there going to be public comment for item number 8?
For Shady Creeks? No.
Yes.
No, that's a discussion, that's an administration decision, so now would be the time to talk about that.
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready for it if you want. What I said, Larry, was if you, I have your letter, if you'd like me to read it, or would you like to come up and read it yourself?
I'll let you read it and I'll make comments.
Okay, that sounds good. So let me read these 3 letters that we got for tonight, and then if you're here and you want to make additional comments, feel free. First one here is from Mr. Nance, Planning Commission, Planning Department, reference to a 21-lot subdivision located at 5700 West, Woodland Drive in Mountain Green. We enjoy a dark skies community here and would ask that you do not require streetlights for this development. There are no streetlights in our area, and we want to maintain our dark skies. Thank you, Larry Nance. Do you want to comment on that now?
Go ahead, let you read the other.
Okay. Next one is from Nathan Hill. As a Morgan County resident who lives 100 yards away from the new 21-lot subdivision near 5700 Woodland Drive, I would like the following to be read, recorded, recognized at the public hearing on July 26, 2022. Please do not install streetlights or required lighted streets. We value our dark sky community. Thank you, Nathan Hill. Third letter, regarding a 21-lot subdivision located at approximately 5700 West, Woodland Drive, Mountain Green. Number 1, is there a provision for egress in case of fire or other emergencies? Number 2, what are the height restrictions for homes? Number 3, at present time, water is available, but will it be for if our drought continues for years? Question mark. Would present weather manipulation, with the present weather manipulation, we could have years of drought. Geoengineering has information relating to this issue. Number 4, there is a stream where homes will be built. Residents who have lived there for years remember when they couldn't walk in this area due to flooding, mud, etc. Historically, the area has been known as a flood zone. We object the doubling or more of traffic in this pristine area plus security lights. Number 6, will our schools be able to handle the influx of children? We have no school bus access here. Number 7, our home is above the proposed new subdivision. In 2011, Morgan County officials mandated that we undergo extensive geotech engineering of our .92 acres before receiving a permit. 2 geotech companies, ours and Morgan County's, dug at least 7 pits to test the soil, etc., to ensure it was safe to build on. We paid for both companies. Are the 21 lots each going to have extensive geotech studies before being sold? The entry into the ravine is part of a slide area according to topographical maps. We hope you will consider all aspects of the terrain and proposed area before any decision you make. Thank you, the Wallaces.
He just walked in.
Oh. Those are the 3 I'll read tonight. We did get a few more letters, but that application is going to be postponed, so I'll read them at the appropriate time for that. So, go ahead, sir.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I guess, first, just a random comment. One of the things I've noticed in Morgan County is how the government has extensively gone out of their way to complement or help the community in doing what they want and what's best for their community. Unfortunately, we can't hear from the developer first, but my understanding is the developer from past comments does not want to have streetlights. There are no streetlights in the Highlands subdivision, and there's no streetlights where this particular project will go. I spoke with Mr. Cox earlier today. I think that's Mr. Are you Mr. Cox? Cook, I'm sorry. It's all good. And the ordinance is pretty vague on whether there needs to be street lights or there doesn't need to be street lights. This area, this subdivision is not going to have any through traffic. So there's not any worry about cross traffic or anything like that. And in my understanding, in the past, the developer is not planning an HOA. So if he's not planning an HOA, that means the county is going to end up having to pay for the cost of operating the street lights. So we would ask that you please do not require this developer to have street lights. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Wallace? Yeah? One second, sir. Mr. Wallace, we just read your letter. Would you like to comment at all in addition to that?
No, I think they're fine, as long as you understand and...
Yeah. Good. We just read it right before you walked in, so. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Bob Stephen from the Stephen Family Trust at 5843 Spruce Circle, just next to this new development. I just have a simple request. We're on a pump going up to Weaver Drive on our sanitary sewer. If there's any way for us to go gravity feed while this development's going on, we'd really appreciate that tip to it. That's our request. If I have to work with the developer on that, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else for public comment?
Good afternoon, John Wakilis, 5767 Weaver Drive, right just down the street from there. Just moved into this beautiful area. It's really great. I think a lot of the stuff you find on a website, says that we should really balance development and quality of life, et cetera, et cetera. And by looking, I take daily walks through there for exercise around that area, and I've noticed, that creek's a beautiful creek, pretty much runs year-round. But it is, prone to ups and downs based on the weather. And it looks like some of those lots, so-called lots, haven't seen a final plat, might be unbuildable or be very hazardous. Like if you try to sink a footing below the frost line in that river, no doubt that's a recharge zone. I mean, I'm not a geologist, but probably a significant recharge zone because of the shape and the area of it for the aquifer there that everyone draws water off of. So to make a long story short, I think consideration should be given based on geotechnical and hydrological considerations to, if some of those lots are risky to build upon or might result in flooding, that consideration would be given to making the greens path, perhaps a walk path or something along the creek to preserve some access to that beautiful area. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. Anyone else for public comment? No? And perfect segue for me, John, I appreciate that comment. So if you don't often come here for public comment, it's going to seem a little bit weird. Hopefully you guys can hear me. There's no dialogue later on. What we do is we open up these items that are for public comment that aren't for public hearing. We open it up now so we can get your questions and concerns. And then what we try and do is we discuss those amongst ourselves, so hopefully you can hear the answer to your questions during that. But I just want to remind you, there's just no opportunity for us to dialogue with you and dialogue with each other. So that's why we have these specific times to hear from you, and then it'll be our turn to discuss and come to some conclusion. Make sense? Thank you very much. Okay. We're going to move on. We're out of public comment, rather, on to item number 6 on our agenda. And this is a continuation of a public hearing. I'll get to it and I'll read it. Did you put it in this week's pack or is it just in last week?
No,
It's just after Shady Creek?
They're asking to postpone.
Yeah, okay, I was going to read the intro first and then do that. But anyway, yeah, so this is a continuation of public hearing. The applicant has asked to rezone. It's a rezone application and proposed zone map amendment of approximately 13.81 acres, going from A20 to RR5, located at approximately 1340 North Morgan Valley Drive in Milton. And the applicant has asked to postpone. So we'll take a motion on that one.
Should we open for public hearing since it was agended?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let's do that. Motion public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're going to open for item number 6 for public hearing. Seems a little clunky to the public, I apologize, but nope. No one here for public hearing. Take a motion to go out.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're now out of public hearing for item number 6. Now we'll take a motion to postpone.
Mr. Chairman, I move to postpone item number 6 to our August 11th meeting.
We have a motion to postpone. Do we have a second?
A second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, on to item number 7 on our agenda. The next item on our agenda is a continuation from June 30th. Discussion decision on Riverbend Estates small subdivision, which is a proposed preliminary final plat for a 7-lot subdivision located at 250 West Richville Lane. And there's no public hearing on this one. So the applicant...
There was a comment or a letter. I assume that we are reading it in or no? Joanne?
What we just said is, why don't we,
This is being postponed.
because it's being postponed, we can read it in, so that's more relevant record for it. Yeah. So we'll keep them in front of us. Okay. All right?
Ready to postpone?
Yep, ready to postpone.
Mr. Chair, I move we postpone item number 7, Riverbend Estates Small Subdivision, to our August 25th, 2022 meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to postpone. A second?
Yes, second.
Oh, sorry, didn't hear it, sorry. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, on to item number 7/2 on the agenda. Discussion decision for Shady Creek Estates preliminary plat. You want me to enter this one as well? I'll just read the intro.
You just want to read the blurb?
Yeah. I'll read the... Okay, I'm going to go down to the staff summary, or not on the agenda, but down the staff summary. So this item is S&S Holding LLC requests approval of the Shady Creek Estates preliminary plat, a proposed subdivision of 21 lots. The concept plan was approved by the County Commission on January 18th, 2021. Staff recommends approval. County staff has reviewed the preliminary plan. For Shady Creek's preliminary plat, staff recommends approval of the requested preliminary plat based on the following findings and the conditions. One, that the nature of the subdivision is in conformance with the current and future land uses of the area. Two, that the proposed complies with Morgan County 2010 general plan. The proposal complies with applicable zoning regulations. Number four, the developer will install any requisite infrastructure, including roadways, etc., and that this proposal is not detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of the public. With the two conditions that all outsourced consultant fees are paid current prior to final plat recordation, and number two, that all other local, state, and federal laws are adhered to. Enough on that, you think? Okay. So would the applicant like to come up and speak to this?
Can you state my name? Would you like that on the record, or does it matter? Bart Smith?
Yes.
Mountain Green. I don't know if you want to discuss those questions that have been brought up?
You're welcome to.
Or do you want me to touch on that?
Sure.
Or just should I bring up my other discussion points?
It's-
Do it all, right?
You have the floor, go ahead.
Okay. I do hope, I guess the one that was brought up was with the street lights. Maybe for reference, I started this project in December of 2015, was when I sent in my initial application. Didn't get the preliminary approval, and it expired on me. At that time, in 2018, with the drought, the Highlands water system didn't have any excess water for additional lots. All those improvements now through these last couple of years have been made, and that's been corrected. But sometimes I try to blame the county for being so slow, but I can't blame the county on how long this 6.5 years has been so far. Well, just a little bit on the county in the beginning, but anyway, we've worked through a lot of the issues. I know that the street lights was kind of mentioned at the preliminary stage back in 2018, and nobody really made a decision at that time. It was just kind of brought up, should it not be required. And as Mr. Nance kind of mentioned, that whole area, there's a street light right down probably on Highland Drive and Old Highway, and maybe one other street light a few hundred yards up the street from that. And I don't, is there one more?
There's three that were paid for by the HOA that's just on.
There's the fund. So I know Woodland Heights, when I developed Woodland Heights, no street lights were required at that time. And yeah, it's just interesting how important that is to a lot of people to keep that dark sky, if at all possible. Mr. Nance brought up some good points. It's not a heavily trafficked area. 2 cul-de-sacs is what this amounts to. Another point too, well, that was part of the discussion, I know a few years back, was if the county requires street lights where there is no HOA, I don't know what you do.
Who pays for it?
You know, it kind of becomes if they want the lights. I mean, if it was say, okay, developer, you have to keep paying it. Well, once I got the subdivision approved and all put in, I'd probably stop paying and then let the power company turn them off. And then if the county wants to turn them back on, they can. So I think it comes down to, is that something that you want the county to be responsible for? But we don't have any, and it's a pretty strong opinion that no one wants to have those put in. So
Gotcha.
that would be something that I guess going forward, if it is required in the code, if that's a recommendation that the planning commission could pass on to the county commission, that this might not be needed or necessary, I guess.
Okay.
The other thing that we haven't had much discussion on is the road. We did just submit here recently that had the engineer submit the road cross section, which unfortunately in Morgan County we have one, and I think that's very sad. It's poor planning. If you look at that cross section, the best example of how ridiculous it is if you drive up Creekside, up through Highlands West subdivision. It's a freeway going up a hillside, on the side of a hill. I've had quite a few conversations with Kent Wilkerson, who was the county engineer and the planner at that time that required that road, and he says that's one of the dumbest things I ever did when I was in that position, to require that much cutting and filling on a hillside to have a road. I had talked with Brett Heiner a few days ago, and I just remember when it first went in, the road, they were cussing how long it took to plow that road. You've got 35 feet of asphalt. Now, maybe that works good when you're in a field, out in the flat, but I know our county engineer has maintained we have one cross-section and you will build it that way. And I think that's sad, because I look at Woodland Heights, which surrounds this subdivision. I measured all the asphalt today. It's 27 feet of asphalt. And I think it was a 52-foot right-of-way, which makes sense when you start getting up in the hills. That road has worked fine. If you look at Highland Drive, of course, that's all just been repaved here last year. It's great, it's wonderful. At the top of Highland Drive, the width of the asphalt is 22 feet, right where it transitions into Woodland Heights. That's probably the narrowest part of Highland Drive. The other roads around in there, they just redid Sierra Drive a few weeks ago. That one's probably 27 feet. And 27 is what Woodland Heights is.
You're certainly welcome to talk about that. My suggestion would be that you come under public comment and ask us to open the code up and take a look at road.
Does not this body have the authority to recommend?
We do, but
or does it have to be brought on an agenda?
No, we can listen to this, but I don't know that there's any way we're going to be able to make a recommendation that we waive current county codes for this. The appropriate avenue would be for you to come and say, hey, look, our code, as a citizen, hey, our code needs to be opened up. It's not consistent with the rest of the state or whatever the case may be, and say, let's look at changing it. Then we put it on an agenda item, we invite the public out to take a look at it, and we change it. We've had great success in doing that. There's a lot of things that we've looked at, like, man, this just doesn't make sense.
Because this has been an issue I've had on my mind for years, but I thought, well, I have to wait till I submit my preliminary plat to when they're looking at the road cross-section, and then I can kind of dispute it.
No, absolutely not. We the people, right? This is our code. We all write it. Everybody has an opportunity. One of the main reasons for public comment is for people to come up and say things like that, like, "Hey, this is wrong," or we disagree with this. Let's take a look at it. Absolutely, let's get it on the agenda. Let's have a public discussion. Let's propose getting our codes changed. Like I said, we've had 5 I can think of recently that we've done that with.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they come up during stuff like this. It's like, well, we can't do it now, but come back next meeting, or you know what? We'll during discussion. We'll discuss it during our business section later.
Okay.
If you want to hang around.
Okay.
And then we can take some action from there. But
okay, all right.
Yeah.
So if this plat that's been submitted is approved as drawn, because the way my engineer, I had him draw it up, was to eliminate sidewalk on one side of the street so it matches all the surrounding subdivisions. But then there's a cross-section that shows that you have park strips and sidewalks. So are we approving the cross-section, or are we approving the plat as drawn?
I don't think any of
Or
us.
is that something we'll bring up and discuss if that could be?
No, we can discuss it right now. This is our
We'll
time.
discuss it when the planning director comes up. We will discuss
Do you want to
that
just
with him.
take notes, or you want to answer as we go through this stuff?
I can do either one.
Yeah. How about we just address them, that way we can kind of go through them. Otherwise, we're belaboring it.
So, as the code is written right now, this application or this proposal needs to meet minimum code standards.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to waive that. If he wants to postpone this application and file an application to amend the code, or if the planning commissioner or county commission wants to recommend staff change the code, then we can go through that text amendment process.
Mm-hmm.
And then he could bring this forward if that text amendment is approved, but there's no way to waive what's required in the code now, just because you don't agree with it. I can't speak for other subdivisions, how they were developed or whatnot, but if the code requires sidewalks on both sides with park strips, then that's what you're gonna be doing.
Okay.
Cool.
If this gets a preliminary approval, and then I come in and request a change, and that happens before the final approval, things could be changed within those construction drawings at that time, or?
You would need to amend the construction drawings to meet the new code.
Right.
We would do that before we would take it forward to final plat.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question about the cross-section.
Yeah.
Where are we talking about?
We don't see those.
Yeah, we don't see the, well,
We don't have that
county
information.
engineer made a comment.
Right.
That cross-sections of roadways should be shown for our review. So that is what he's talking about.
And the cross-section that's in the code was submitted.
Right.
It's just not in our packet.
Yeah, it's just not in our packet.
Oh.
So they asked him to, hey, show me cross-sections. They showed him
What does that
cross-section.
mean? What's a cross-section?
Oh, the, kind of the thickness and width.
Width of the
The
road.
material that
Like
they're,
a
Yeah,
cut
how much
across the
asphalt,
road.
curb and gutter, park strip, sidewalks.
yeah. Remember we went through defining private lanes and roads and how thick they had to be, and, you know, if it was to be a driveway, how, that part of the code that he's talking about. So we literally amended it last time because we asked the same question, so we'd certainly look at it again.
Actually, so Jess Holyoke, my engineer, he says he does believe the county code allows for the county engineer to make, they can accept an alternate to the cross-section, the road that's stated in there.
Okay?
But our county engineers made it pretty clear that if there's one cross-section and you're going to build it. So I need to, okay.
That-
That's something that needs to be probably discussed going forward.
Do you have
I
the
think
two
as you get
potential
other
options?
projects that start getting up in the foothills, we need to have more than just one
See, there's,
option. Yeah,
That's the, yeah.
so that's a 60-foot right-of-way, if you looked at that. And this will be a discussion, I guess I'll just bring it up. Let me just quickly say though, some of the flaws there is having a 6-foot park strip. I don't know, typically it's 5 feet, but now they want 6, and maybe the road department wants more place to pile snow. I personally think the sidewalk in some areas needs to be up against the curb and gutter and eliminate the park strip. If you drive around and you see how many park strips are neglected, weed patches, the push right now for conserving water, rip your park strip out and just put gravel in. So if that's the case, if we have to have a park strip, maybe I put that in my CCNRs. No grass. You can't put grass in a park strip. But it doesn't make sense. So we need to probably have some, I think it'd be nice to have some flexibility based on the situation of what's going to work out best. And I think that'd be some good discussion for the road department. I know Mr. Heiner was saying I need to have, because when you do start getting up in the higher elevations, you got a little more snow you got to be pushing if there's areas. Luckily, these two cul-de-sacs have no lots at the end of the cul-de-sacs. And all that snow could be pushed to, actually there's detention ponds there. So you could just push the snow down to the end of the road. But I know as you're plowing, so much is going to go off into every yard. But it doesn't make sense to have park strips. This area is all very naturally vegetated. They will have to be cutting out trees just to dig their hole for their homes. It's very, there's a few places that are open, but a lot of it is pretty dense in some areas. And so it's like, you're going to make me rip out trees to make an 11-foot easement behind my gutter so that I can have a sidewalk cut into a hillside that therefore requires retaining.
Sure, one second, so Josh, the only way that I can think of that there's he can have any variation, in previous subdivisions, they would be under a development agreement, right? We used to have,
Well, a development
Peer.
agreement is part of the entitlement process, so you would have to go through.
Start over?
yeah,
I'm not
basically.
going to do it a third time.
So that's the problem is this is just a standard subdivision. So then there's these standard construction criteria, code criteria. So in other subdivisions, we had PRUD ordinance, we've had development agreements, and those development agreements opens everything up for negotiation. But that's kind of where we're at. I think the only way forward, is there any other way other than just
No.
come back, make recommendations, we'll see if we can't get it
Because a
open?
preliminary plat is administrative only,
Yeah.
and the final plat as well, it's basically a checklist.
Yeah.
So we go through our code, we check off every little thing that you've got on your plat to make sure that it aligns with the minimum code requirements that are found in our subdivision regulations. If it doesn't meet the minimum code requirements, the engineer, the fire department, or whoever, wherever it's not meeting, is gonna call that out, and that's gonna be one of the comments that you'll have to address. So if it's required by the code, you gotta do it.
Okay.
If it's not required by the code, then we have no business asking for it.
Is it true that the engineer can waive the cross-section?
I'm not aware of that section. I'd have to go back into the code and read to try to find out.
So I think that right now, I think that's where you're at. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and that's fine. I'm just gonna keep plugging along, pushing through, and if I need to do that cross-section, I will do it. I just think though, even just for future planning, it makes sense to have maybe one or two other different.
No, I agree, and
options.
as a member of the public, we welcome you to come back and say, hey, look, let's open up our code, take a look at it.
Yeah,
You can have this discussion with the county commission when you go
Yeah,
before
for
them
sure.
too.
yeah, okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right.
Streetlights, roads. gutter.
As the water, they were talking about the flood, I had a hydrology study done. The plats clearly mark what the 100-year floodplain is. That determined where our building envelopes were to stay out of that. The hydrology study shows that there will be certain requirements.
Would you put that plat up, please? I think there's some members of the public that may not have seen it. It might answer some of the questions on where the building envelopes are on these lots. And thanks for answering that. A lot of the public doesn't know the process we went through to create a new geotech.
You did the
Code.
geohazard study on all the
Geohazard.
lots.
Yeah, so this wider, this is the creek, the dashed line, and then that wider is that 100-year floodplain. So you can see that no building envelope comes into the 100-year floodplain. So the home wall, and there are certain requirements in that hydrology study says you cannot have any walkout basements on the upstream. They can go out, you can go out towards the back way, the back of the house towards the stream. Nothing on the up, just in case it jumped any banks. You don't have a walkout that channels water in. So there's a few restrictions with that hydrology study. It doesn't preclude anybody from building down in those, in that building envelope. There's just going to be a couple things that will have to be.
Could you remind me of the what you went through for the geo on this one?
Yeah, so the initial study was done in 2017, and I had 22 lots at that time.
All right, I remember that.
Then, starting over again, that ordinance had been amended, a little bit more strict, brought my geologist, geotech back, redid it, did more test pits, more bore holes, to meet that increased.
Mm-hmm. Increased scrutiny or whatever.
Yeah, and I lost one lot. One lot was eliminated. They just said, we probably better not do that one. That one could have a chance of maybe some instability there. So
Okay.
So there's 20. I went from 22 to 21 after that second study. But as per, maybe just for the audience, I guess,
Yeah.
to know with this new sensitive area ordinance, a test pit has to be drilled on, not every lot, but on the lot line. So every 2 lots, you drill on the lot line. So I had to have at least 11 test pits. Plus, I did about 5 other different bores, just to be sure on.
But we no longer have restricted lots. They all have to be buildable now, where before we,
Yeah, and that's why you have to go to that extra work on the front end to make sure that everything is good. This particular subdivision, the lots, you can see there's a stream. This is a seasonal stream. All down in the creek bottom, there's a ridge and the driveways will slope up onto the view lots up on top. So they're either sitting on top of a ridge or in the creek bottom. No lot is cut into a hillside. That's when you start running into your problems if you're in an area that have the clay like we do down there. So this one, every lot has been determined that you're going to be pretty stable, especially the ones down the creek bottom.
Before you go on, talk about the building area. On lot 15, it looks like the line that shows the flood channel cuts into the buildable on lot 15, that one corner. Or am I?
What did we do on that, Jess? That was when we were going to kind of rework it, but I don't know.
Lot 15, see how it it cuts through?
Oh, yeah. Does this need to be taken, eliminated?
That's the
Or do you remember?
one where we're going to look at that some more, but.
Yeah, the home won't be, yeah, we could even just probably eliminate it because the home, no doubt, is going to be sitting up closer to the road and up on the north property line.
Yeah, we can make that,
Well,
make a note for it, yep. Okay.
What's the deal with the gravity fed sewer versus the pump?
Oh, thanks.
Do you
I
understand?
don't understand
We'll discuss it with
the
staff. We'll discuss it with staff, applicant. Do we have any?
I don't have any gravity fed, any pumps.
No, it was
With
part
a
of the
neighbor.
public comment.
It was,
Oh.
we'll address it, we'll address it with staff after this, that's fine.
And I have a question to you. In the staff report, and also the county engineer kept referring to private streets and private lane. My understanding, they're both public cul-de-sacs with 2 driveways. You got those long driveways, or they're 2?
Oh, yes.
They're not,
Oh, that's another point I wanted to bring up too. But I don't know if you can decide on that. Yeah, so we have two lengthy driveways to get back to the secluded lot sites there. Initially, we had them drawn at 12 feet widths. Chief Rendell come back and said, no, they need to be 20. So then we drew them up to 20. And then, within a week or two after that, maybe he found something in the International Fire Code. Now he's insisting they're 26. Now, these driveways they have to be rated to hold 75,000 pounds. That's what they determine a fire emergency vehicle. Even the sewer district wants to be able to pull in with a pump truck to access there's a sewer line already in. It went in from the Woodland Heights, and it runs all the way down, all the way up through this road, and then all the way down back into the Highlands. So the main trunk line's already been there for the last 18 years, whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's right down through the creek bottom area. So all those lots will flow down. The sewer lines are running right down through the very low spot, so there won't be any pumps on any sewers. They'll easily gravity feed. The driveways will probably run over top of the sewer easement in a lot of those cases. It doesn't have to be paved or concrete. It can be an all-surface, a gravel road, but it still has to be to where it can hold 75,000 pounds. It'll be a driveway. I'm sure it'll be paved or asphalted, whatever, concrete, whatever. But I don't know if the 26 feet all of a sudden now is fire code. That's wider than Highland Drive. I don't know why a driveway has to be 26 feet. 20 feet seems to be pretty ample. That I don't know. I know, but maybe that's the way it's written in the code. If you recall, when Frontier Estates was getting approval on the road extension on a stub street, the code at the time said 1,000 feet max. Frontier Estates was trying to get 1,100 feet. In order to get to 1,100 feet, you changed the code to adopt the IFC,
Right.
but now IFC is 750 feet on a cul-de-sac with the recommendation of the fire chief, but it comes down to the county commission. They can overrule the fire chief. Basically, the county adopted that at that time, thinking, why are we set at 1,000 feet? If you're in a field and you got another 100 feet, what extra danger is there? And that's why they did that, to give them that flexibility. I don't know on the width of a driveway if that still pertains, if that's a county commission
Well, I
decision.
think when we did that, didn't we adopt doesn't the verbiage say we comply with the most current fire code? Or do we adopt?
Right, he quotes the fire code in his letter,
He does, but
at number 2.
Bart's referring back to our code when we went through exactly that
Right.
process. We talked about the public hearing, et cetera, and based on the fire department's recommendation, fire chief's recommendation, that we change our county code to not say, hey, everything must be in accordance with 2010's fire policy.
Right.
I think we changed it to say
Current.
The current IFC,
the current.
yeah.
So as current IFC changes, then all new requirements must meet that, whatever those changes are.
Unless the code has written in a provision for the county commission to do something contrary to that code. And that might have only been on the length of the road, not the width.
Yeah, and these are driveways we're talking about now.
So, yeah.
Right, so.
Yeah, they're not
They're not the road.
the road,
It
yeah.
does have specifics for private driveways that serve multiple lots. If it's 2 or more, they're required to meet the private lane standards, which is 20 feet paved.
What if it's just one? It shouldn't be more than 20. 20 should be the max.
Well, our code says if that driveway serves 2 or more, then it needs to meet the private lane standard.
Because these driveways are single driveways. There's 2 long driveways to one home only, not 2 lots. The end of this cul-de-sac, this driveway goes to that home, and that lot stops right there. This cul-de-sac comes down this driveway to this home. And those are the only, so they're single, those driveways are single-purpose driveways. One single family.
Well, I'd have to talk to the fire chief.
Yeah, the fire chief,
Okay.
the fire chief, we don't overrule the fire chief.
We should.
I have a question now.
Not the planning commission, no.
Bring it to the county
County
commission.
commission. should.
County commission.
Yeah, okay.
On number 1 on the fire chief, about 3/4 of the way down, it says that the lot 8 is approximately 200 feet, and for the IFC, an excess of 501 feet must be 26 feet wide. So I guess I'm confused at why lot 8 is 26 feet if it's only 200 feet in.
That's a discussion with the fire chief.
Yeah, because what will happen is, the recommendation would be with the condition that all the county engineer, fire stuff is met. So essentially, that puts it back to you and those authorities to work out what the best way forward is.
Okay. Yeah, and some of this stuff I brought up, I didn't know if that's things that the planning commission can, or if
Well, we
they want to
can
make
certainly address
recommendations
it
or.
and talk about them, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's fine to bring anything up. I mean, we don't know. If we don't know, we just don't know. Right? We'll try.
I just got thinking. So it is interesting, when you look at these roads, all the surrounding roads, as I mentioned, and I know you can't do anything, these are 27 feet of asphalt. Now I'm going to have to flare this out to 33 feet of asphalt. Why a road has to be wider in a cul-de-sac than the main artery coming into the subdivision is, I know we've got the code, your hands are tied.
No, I'm just wondering.
bringing this up as, I really think something needs to be looked at.
Sure.
And I'll take that.
I welcome that next discussion. Have you been able to, is there any dialogue between the applicant and the county engineer and any of this stuff, or is it just the applicant makes it and then this is what the county engineer brings back?
The county engineer reviews things that are uploaded to Basecamp, and then he provides a letter with his recommendations.
So he can put notes, he can put questions in Basecamp to say, hey, we talked about this last night, and the county engineer, that would be the dialogue between the county engineer?
Yep.
So,
Call him.
Unless I could actually get a face-to-face with him and then just try to see if he's willing to, but he's a hard man to catch.
Put that in base camp. I think that's your primary communication, so I think it's okay to say that. Say, look, as per, we had a discussion last night. I'm wondering if we can't retake a look at some of these things. I'm questioning it. And then that would be your official communication to both Chief Rendell and
Okay.
the engineer.
The only other thing that was brought up on the engineer's list, it was stated, I think right after that second condition, he brought up that we don't allow double frontages, but
Right.
you made that recommendation, the county commission approved it at the concept level, that, because most of these lots have double frontages, but they will have one of them will be, they're labeled as no access.
Okay, right.
So there's only a single access to these lots.
Right.
And I don't think the county engineer gets to, I don't know if he goes back and reads the minutes to know what actions were approved.
Well, it's in the report that the county commission approved double-sided, double-fronted
It's
lots.
part of the staff findings
At the
that they already
meeting.
did it. But
They've already done it.
Yeah. Just in case anybody asks that, brings that up, you know
Yeah.
that that's already been resolved.
Okay.
It looks here like on lot 21, it's the same problem as lot 15. There's unbuildable area in the flood zone. With that long driveway.
On the driveway.
Yeah, that's the corner.
On 21 there,
Yeah, 21.
probably back.
Oh, right there, just to the right.
To the right.
21's going to be down.
Yeah, good.
Maybe you need to
Just,
look it up.
yeah, scroll down.
It's down,
The home site's down here.
right there.
Yep, there's it looks like a little bit outside there, we'd have to. we could-
No, isn't that 8? Is it, no,
This is 8, this is 21. So there is a little bit there that could be taken out, that encroaches on that 100.
15 and 21.
Nice one.
Yeah, that won't affect the,
I'm not sure the encroachment into the floodplain of the buildable area is going to be a problem anyway, because,
It'll come at building permit.
right, so the homes are going to be required to be above the base flood elevation by 1 to 2 feet, depending on the engineering. So
How would that impact someone that bought it if this plat was approved as is and would they be forced into having flood insurance just because the plat shows the buildable area as part of the flood
they'd
zone?
probably be forced to have flood insurance anyway, because that would probably be within the flood.
no, FEMA doesn't come up that stream. We're so far up the stream
Yeah,
uphill.
check.
I think the home has to be in the floodplain, not the building envelope, the home. If the home's inside that, then you would have to have flood insurance.
I see.
Those homes most likely won't encroach over that.
Okay.
So, I mean, it may show the building envelope, but
But can you
if you're not building anything in there, I don't think it,
We can do,
ask it
to
to
make
be
sure it's
removed.
continuity.
but you can remove it if you want.
Just clean up that corner.
It's not like it's gonna make or break in. These lots are big. I mean, you're talking a pretty sizable area, a bigger home than any of us would probably build. What's displayed there.
Any other questions for the applicant? I don't have any. No. I think you addressed everything from the public. There's a few that we'll try and catch when we talk to staff, but I appreciate it, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Got a few questions for staff. First, streetlights. So, I know we have a lighting ordinance.
We do have a lighting ordinance, yep, that's correct. So after my phone discussion with Mr. Nance, I called and talked to our county engineer, and he mentioned that in the past, if the streets were going to be public and the streetlights were going to be publicly dedicated as well, then we don't want them. We don't have the money to maintain them, and it requires an additional contract with Rocky Mountain Power, or is it Beehive Power? In order to power those lights. So if they're public infrastructure or to be public infrastructure, then we would not want them. If the applicant wants streetlights and there's going to be an HOA and they're going to be privately maintained, then our code does not restrict them. And he could do that if he so chose.
So to be clear, we are not requiring streetlights.
No, the only statement we have in the code that says anything about requiring streetlights is that if the county commission requires it. So if the county commission decides they want streetlights there, they can require it.
How about we make a condition just to make sure that it gets communicated? What do you think? The
I
public's
don't
pretty
think we need
adamant
to
about,
mention
About what,
it.
not having lights?
yeah, that they don't want streetlights.
Well, it's not in the plans, the streetlights.
Oh, that's true. So it's not planned, it's
Yeah,
not
there's nothing on the
approved.
plat that I saw.
No,
The applicant does not want them, put them in, nobody else wants
the
them.
county doesn't want them.
We don't want 'em,
Public,
okay.
so.
So let the record show that we discussed that there will not be streetlights at this. That's good. There's a member of the public lives above or below? To the,
If you go to the opposite corner, you'll see our house on.
can you zoom? I'm trying to do it here, thinking it's going to
Up
connect.
above lot 7, if you can
Right above lot
scroll
7?
that up, go up the screen.
I'm just trying to understand
Yeah, I'd like to
the
clarify
question.
if we could. So we're waiting, yeah, here. This is our home right here. There's a property line right here next to our neighbor. Right now, our sanitary sewer comes out here and we pump up to Weaver Drive.
Uh-huh.
We would like to come on the property line here.
Oh, you want to hook up?
We'd like to hook up.
Oh.
To get gravity instead of pumping is what we would like.
So I just want to address it because I didn't quite understand the question, but
Now
you
we
know
do.
what? You got to go to the sewer board and talk to them about that. They have a
Okay.
meeting once a month and they have public comment and everything else.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. And work with the developer of this. to
And work,
get
yeah, and
necessary
work with the
easements.
developer with the infrastructure. It's just so
No, not-
outside of our wheelhouse.
Not the infrastructure, because there wouldn't be any requirement that we have in our code.
No,
that
we wouldn't require
the
him to do
developer
it.
Put that in.
Right.
Okay.
But he could work with the developer to obtain the easements so that he could put in the infrastructure if the sewer board approves it.
So there's a public utility easement there. Yeah.
Thank you for that
Thank you.
clarification. Yep. What else do we miss?
I just have a question on our department comments and recommendations. It says Public Works, no comments. Did they not have any comments, or did they not see the plat, or we don't know?
So Brett Heiner, the Public Works Director, is CC'd and included on the projects that go forward. I know he's a busy man. I don't know if he's had a chance to review it or not.
Okay,
He has talked to me about the need for snow storage and the need for those landscape strips for the storage. He gets a lot of calls from the public if it's just street sidewalks, because then the sidewalks are all filled up and he gets all the complaints.
and I'm sure the surveyor, county surveyor, probably doesn't really get involved till the final to really make sure.
Yeah, so the county surveyor is involved from the beginning, and he checks the plat itself.
He has no comments, or that's, okay. So he's okay so far, we assume?
So far.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff?
I have a couple of quick questions,
Yeah.
if that's all right. Can you educate me, Josh, really quickly? I remember back when Wallace's came in before, we required 2 different geotechnical studies, one from the county, one from theirs. What has changed and what have I missed? What is that, has that been changed where we require county and the owner to do that?
I honestly can't answer that because I don't know what was required in the past. I know that our county engineer reviews the geotechnical reports that come in, and it has to be based on our geotechnical code, which I will say is one of the best I've ever seen.
It has changed. We called it the Wallace cycle that they got caught in over and over, kind of the dueling.
So it has changed? We don't
It has
require-
changed. It
What
has
is the
changed.
requirement now, Debbie?
Exactly what that they
Right.
have to have. It's a really comprehensive study they have to do, and then do they have to pay for the cost of our county engineer to review it as well?
Yeah.
But it's at the developer stage, not individual lot owners.
Right. So now the developer has to do it rather than the individual lot owners. About 2 years ago, it took us about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months or so, we redid that geotech ordinance, but part of that was the change in the requirements for how that works.
I remember that, I just didn't remember that particular.
Yeah, I
part.
didn't either until
So
you said
it's
it.
just one,
Yeah.
we just have to have one geotech?
It's just one, but they still have to be reviewed twice, they just don't have to have 2 independent.
Okay, thank you.
But paid for by the developer.
Paid for by the developer, yeah. It's a great question to ask in front of the Wallaces, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My question is there an alternative to the sidewalks and park strips for snow?
Our
Like-
code lays out what's required with regards to streets. If you want to change that, then you need to recommend that we look at that again. I'm not sure I would recommend anything different. I may recommend multiple. I don't know what I'd recommend without looking at it.
I think we wait till business questions for staff, and we'll ask that question and close this one out first, because I got some comments on it as well. But, yeah, from living here. Anything else? No?
I don't have anything.
Okay. All right, so if there's any discussion, further discussion from us, or we're ready to recommend something.
Mr. Chair, I move we forward a positive recommendation to the County Commission for the Shady Creek Estates preliminary plat application 22.035, allowing for a 21-lot subdivision of land located at 5700 West Woodland Drive in Mountain Green, based on the findings and with the conditions listed in the staff report dated July 28, 2021, with the following added conditions. Number 3, that the county engineer, county surveyor, and Mountain Green Fire Department comments are addressed. And number 4, that lots 15 and 21 building areas are out of the flood zone.
Those street lights.
Anything else? Nope. So we have a motion with 2 additional conditions. Do we have a second for that motion?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, well, I just have a question on lights. Are we saying that that's already the policy? So
Yes,
it doesn't
no
need to
lights,
be
yeah.
For streetlights? So 2 things. There are no plans, there's nothing on the current preliminary plat that shows streetlights, so we're not approving them, and they're not required anyway.
Okay, all right, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Yeah. So we don't have to make a condition for something that's already,
That's not there.
that's not there.
Technically, you couldn't make that condition anyway, because our code has a dark sky
Correct.
ordinance, and we do allow them.
And we- yeah.
Developer wants.
So if the developer, for some reason, wanted to pay for that infrastructure and put it in, they could, but that would be at final, and we'd have a chance to discuss it again. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, as always, to everyone who comes out. Okay. Now, everybody typically likes to stay to the end because this is where we talk about all the really interesting stuff, but if you're going to leave, we'll give you just a moment to take off. Because we're about to enter the next item on our agenda, which is our work session for area plan update. Okay. What's our area plan update? What's our area plan update?
A total of 5 applications have been received. That's it.
For the whole,
For the whole, so Josh and I discussed today, and we're going to put actual, like, corrugated signs out in your areas.
the yellow signs,
Well, they won't be yellow, but they'll be bright,
big.
That's-
bright enough and
Okay.
for people to see and to hopefully get the word out more, because the newspaper doesn't circulate a paper copy anymore. They're all online, so posting on Facebook is just as good as posting on the newspaper.
Okay, so where is the Mountain Green and Peterson Area Plan Committee? Where is that at, the stages, do you know? Anybody?
It's still,
Nobody's updated me on any of that.
it's still with the group that's writing it. But they don't have a draft out yet or anything.
Have they done any public meetings, or?
They haven't had any formal public meetings, nope.
Okay.
They haven't gotten to that point
So
yet.
we're still in the initial
Is there a way
phases.
to check to see if they've been billing against that grant? There was a grant, right?
Yeah, it's a grant.
So how do we-
UDOT grant, no.
how
No,
do we-
Wasatch Front.
So how do we determine if they've been billing against that grant and if they've actually put any work into it?
I don't know, it should be public info, you would think, right?
I can check with the clerk's office.
I just don't want the county to get burned
Sure. By not having an area plan for those huge areas?
and still paying a consultant.
Recommendations that we can do?
I've just seen it happen before, so
Do you,
Contact.
yeah, I have a contact information. that-
yeah, if you could get that to me, I'd like to call them and find out. where
Okay.
they're at.
Okay. So you're gonna get the contact information, you guys are gonna call?
I know the name, I'll
Okay.
see if I can get the number, yes.
Okay.
And then, so for the rest of all of the areas, only 5 applicants, plus members of the planning commission that are gonna lead it?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have been able to get the word out to people you know in your area to see if they're interested, but it's the Croydon and Round Valley, the Richville, Porterville, Enterprise, Milton, and then Stoddard, North Morgan areas. So,
Well, we could advertise that mink farms are being taken away, and whoever shows up will make them, make them the area. No, just
no,
kidding.
we're gonna extend it for another month.
Okay, so 1 more month.
and then we'll
Yeah,
have-
we just have to get creative with convincing people to be on these area plans.
Remind me, how many members are we?
You guys had talked about 7,
7?
so.
Including the commission?
No, did we say including, I think it was 7 aside from.
If we could get to 7, that'd be great,
Yeah.
but 7, anything more than that is, would be.
You can have as many as possible?
I think we settled on 7,
Oh, okay.
because too many would be,
But it doesn't seem to be a danger of that. Yes.
no, not at all.
I was thinking about locking the gates in Croydon so no one can get out and just have a meeting.
Just lay in the
There you
middle,
go.
lay in the middle of the road.
Right. No one can go.
So 1 more month, keep it on the agenda for next meeting so we can keep it in front of us? Okay.
Yep.
Training work session.
We'll go to Broward,
Can we can't swap them, can we now?
What?
Number 11.
We could, I think.
Because they're
Since
not here to watch a movie.
They might be here for more of the discussion.
Stand by 1 second.
Push
How long
pause.
is it?
It's 8 minutes. It's an 8-minute video and then 5 questions.
Someone's gonna make a motion, and we're gonna vote on swapping this out so that we can talk business staff questions first and then do this.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move to make an amendment to the agenda by swapping out, or switching item number 10 and item number 11, so we can discuss business and staff questions before our training.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So for the benefit of the public, so you don't have to watch our training slides, which you're welcome to stay for, I assume that the folks that are staying are here to discuss our business and staff questions. So we'll move into that now. So what do you have for us first?
I don't have anything.
Nope. Did you get anything for staff? Well, the stuff tonight, that'd be the one thing I'd ask about.
Yeah.
Okay, so we heard from an applicant tonight that the cross-section of the roads and the sidewalks and park strips are, could be problematic or inconsistent with other counties or whatever. So what do we think about that? Do we
And
want-
snow.
And that it would look stupid in the area.
Yeah.
But we need places for snow to go. So maybe that, you can address the,
So any undertaking to update the text of a code, sometimes it's needed, sometimes it's not. There should be a lot of research that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
You should take the advice of your public works director into account. He's the one that goes around the county plowing the roads. He has a vested interest in how that street cross-section is. So before any change occurs, there's research that needs to go into it. We need to pull codes from adjacent cities and counties, similar counties in size, things like that, and what they do. We need to look at the different codes, put together a comparison, and bring that to you before any decision is made, or even before the actual text is drafted. The public, you have a developer here who has a vested interest in shrinking that. There are some reasons why a right-of-way needs to be 26 feet. There needs to be room for fire trucks to turn around. There needs to be room for buses or whatever to turn around. Typically in a cul-de-sac that requires at least 55-foot radius. I've worked in communities that shrunk those street cross-sections down to 20 feet, and the fire trucks could not get by. So, and there were issues on some of those roads because people park in the street. So all that has to be taken into account. I would not recommend just changing it to change it.
No, certainly not. I was just wondering what our next steps are. So
the next steps are either you recommend that staff start researching new street cross-sections as a text amendment, or you can push it on and let the county commission make that recommendation to me, or Mr. Smith can come in, pay the fee, put in an application to change it, and recommend the changes, and either at that point I would do the research and make the recommendation, or he would. And then I would review what he proposes. And then I would make a recommendation one way or the other.
I think that's the normal process. Plus, I think the county commission is going to take a look at that. And certainly you can bring this discussion up with them as well. And then maybe the roads person can make comment then as well. They can, after maybe
Right.
just reach out and say, hey, by the way, we had these kind of comments. It'll likely come up at commission meeting.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. I think that sounds like a good next step. What do you guys think?
Sounds good to me.
And then the applicant can then pay another application fee, come in or whatever, do it like anybody. Like if I wanted to change something, that's how I would do it.
Well, that's the thing. If you
Yeah.
recommend, or if the county commission recommends staff do it, there is no application, there is no fee.
Right.
Staff does it.
We've already closed it out now, so we're not going to make any recommendations.
Correct.
But so I think the best shot is that the county commission does it. And then if not, bring it back. Okay. And what else? Anything else?
that was it, many of the road cross-section.
What's that?
Just many of the road cross-section is the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, my comment was for the road cross-section and the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, that's all we have. I know you're raising your hand, but I don't know what else, what other dialogue?
I had one other comment I forgot to make.
Your application's already been approved, so.
No, just in your discussion of sidewalks.
Oh, I recommend, honestly, there's nothing we can do anyway. Just bring it to the commission, bring those comments to them, and then ask them the same kind of thing they, as they're your elected officials. Appreciate that, though. Anything else? No? Okay.
As I said, the only other thing I think about, there's that option still for a development agreement, because I know through Cottonwoods, that condensed area, they did a sidewalk right next to the road there.
They'd have to go back to step one.
I know they would.
Very expensive. Well, could be expensive. Yeah. No, you're right.
So there still is an option.
Yeah, but that is an option. A development agreement is an option in the code to do that.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to move on from business staff questions. Now we're going to move on to our training. If you guys continue to stay, this is awesome. Guys, Guys, if you don't mind, we just got this video. If you could take it outside, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The state law on actions and deliberation of government conducted. Before we continue, keep in mind that this video is an overview and exceptions may exist based on your entity type. We focus on local government, not state requirements. When in doubt, read the law. Always read the business.
One more touch
So
for me.
what's considered an open and public meeting? It's when a public body forum, also known as a simple majority, meets to discuss or act upon government business. It includes the meetings sometimes referred to as workshops or executive sessions. Regular meetings, public hearings, electronic meetings, and emergency meetings are all open and public meetings. Open and public meetings don't include chants or social meetings. A public hearing is a type of open and public meeting where citizens have a reasonable opportunity to speak. Public hearings happen when a government adopts a budget, imposes or increases taxes or fees, or transfers money from an enterprise fund. These meetings have extra notice and posting requirements and won't be addressed in this video. An electronic meeting is a type of open and public meeting that's convened electronically, such as via phone or the internet. Remember, the governing body must adopt a resolution, rule, or ordinance allowing and governing electronic meetings. OPMA adds additional requirements too. An emergency meeting may be held to discuss an urgent matter due to unforeseen circumstances. In order to hold the meeting, the best notice that's feasible is provided of the time, location, and topics to be considered. An attempt is made to contact all governing body members, and the governing body majority approves the meeting. An open and public meeting may be closed to discuss any of the following: a person's character, competence, or health, collective bargaining, litigation, certain real property transactions, including any form of a water right or water shares, with specific restrictions, security personnel, devices, or systems deployment, investigations of criminal misconduct, and private or protected information for the Utah Procurement Code, including trade secrets. A closed meeting may be held only if a quorum is present and the meeting was properly noticed. 2/3 of the governing body present at the meeting need to vote yes to close the meeting. Quick math lesson. 2 divided by 3 equals 66.7%. Let's say your governing body has 5 members present at the meeting. If 3 out of 5 members vote yes, that equals 60%, which is not equal or greater than 66.7%, which means you're 1 member short and would need 4 out of 5 members to vote yes. During a closed meeting, the governing body can't interview someone applying to fill an elected position, discuss filling a midterm vacancy or temporary absence, discuss the character, competence, or health of a person whose name was submitted for consideration to fill a midterm vacancy or temporary absence, approve any ordinance, resolution, rule, regulation, contract, or appointment, or take a vote, unless it's a vote on a motion to end the closed portion of the meeting and return to an open meeting. When a governing body closes a meeting, the following must be publicly announced and entered into the minutes of the open meeting in which the closed meeting was approved. The reason or reasons for holding the closed meeting, the location where the closed meeting will be held, and the vote of each member of the governing body either for or against the motion to close the meeting. If a closed meeting is discussing a person's character, competence, or health, or security personnel, devices, or systems deployment, or several other exceptions, mostly related to state bodies or project entities, no recording or minutes are required. However, the presiding member needs to sign a sworn written statement stating such. If the closed meeting is held for any other reason, a recording must be made, which includes date, time, and place of the meeting, names of members present and absent, and names of all others, except where disclosure would infringe on the confidentiality necessary to fulfill the original purpose of closing the meeting. Regular open and public meetings require 24 hours notice. The public notice includes the meeting, agenda, date, time, and place. Public meeting agendas need to include reasonably specified topics to be considered, with each topic listed under a separate agenda item on the meeting agenda. The governing body may not consider a topic in an open meeting that wasn't on the agenda. If a new topic not on the agenda is raised by the public during an open meeting, the governing body may discuss the topic. However, final action may not be taken on the new topic during that meeting. Additionally, entities holding regular meetings scheduled in advance over the course of the year, need to provide annual notice of the entire year's meeting schedule. The notice must include date, time, and place for each meeting. Notice is posted at the entity's principal office, or if the entity doesn't have a main office, at the building where the meeting will be held, and the Utah Public Notice website. Typically, posting on the Public Notice website is done by the records officer, recorder, or clerk. However, it's the governing body's responsibility to ensure notice is provided. State Archives has prepared a training manual with guide for owners and posters, as well as training videos that can be accessed at their website, archives.utah.gov. Written minutes and a recording are kept of all open meetings, with few exceptions. Written minutes include the date, time, and place of the meeting, the names of members present and absent, the substance of all matters, names of citizens providing comments, the substance of the comments provided. Any information a body member requests be entered into the minutes or recording, and a record by individual member of each vote taken. A body with elected members must record each vote in list format by category for each action taken by a member, including yes votes, no votes, and absent members next to each member's name. A recording must be a complete and unedited record of all open portions of the meeting from beginning to end, and be labeled with the meeting date, time, and place. All or any part of an open meeting may be independently recorded by any person in attendance if the recording does not interfere with the conduct of the meeting. Pending minutes means written minutes of an open meeting in draft form subject to change before being approved by the public body that held the open meeting. Pending minutes must contain a clear indication, such as a draft or pending watermark, that the governing body hasn't yet approved the minutes, and that the minutes are subject to change until the public body approves them. Approved minutes means written minutes of an open meeting approved by the public body that held the open meeting. Entities must establish and implement procedures for the public body's approval of written minutes. Public meeting pending minutes, approved minutes, and recordings are public records underground. Any individual who publicly presents information relating to an item on the public body's meeting agenda must provide a copy of the information for inclusion in the public record. Make pending minutes available to the public within 30 days. Within 3 business days after approving written minutes of an open meeting, make approved minutes and any public materials available at the Utah Public Notice website, the entity's primary office, and the entity's website. Within 3 business days after holding an open meeting, make an audio recording of the open meeting available to the public for listening.
Alrighty then. So our next steps are for all of us to log on, create an account.
You should all have an account already.
I meant, yeah, we'd log on, whatever,
Do the 5-question quiz.
and then
Yeah.
record it.
And then send your certificates to
Okay.
us. Yeah.
You can't log on to each of our accounts right now and do it.
Can you send us that link in our email?
Yep.
The additional, the ones for the comments for the ones we postponed, you want to take them back and then just pass them back out?
Yeah, I have them.
Okay.
If you guys just want to keep them.
We can do that.
Because I do have a copy that will go with the next.
Packet.
Oh, so then, okay. That'll be part of the record.
One thing I noticed in that training, maybe we need the watermark of draft on these minutes in our packet, just in case someone gets a hold of it and thinks it's
Yeah.
ahead of time.
It does say unapproved on the bottom when they're not approved, but I can start doing the watermark.
Yeah, something, just to make sure that it's understood that they haven't been approved yet.
Yep.
Well, I wish more of the public knew to go to the public notice website and sign up, because that's the best way to get notifications.
I have been letting a lot of people know lately that they can go there, or they can go to our county site.
It's the new town hall sign, you know. Okay. He just did his.
I just got the certificate.
You just
It's in your email.
Here, you can do mine next.
Can you show me how to do that real quick?
Sure.
We're trained, so you just do the quick
True, true, true. D, true.
He's kidding. Yeah, send us all the link.
I just sent it
Did you send it to them?
to you.
To me? The link?
No,
Her certificate?
I just sent my certificate
She's
to
already
you.
done. Hold on. So, who still needs
Me.
me,
Me,
Shane?
Shane,
Yeah, was
I
logging.
better log in and do his.
we take his for him.
Got it.
So he's not doing it
so
on
is the
Christian's
link
there
the
to
open
visit.
and
New
public
Year's Eve
meetings act?
again.
Right, yeah.
Is the link the open and public meetings act?
Yes.
So just type that in.
Yeah, you don't have AirDrop, do you?
I'm lucky to have a computer.
My email is still my old county email though. So. What the-
I sent one to your Morgan County.
Did you
It
have to
takes
click-
30 seconds to
did you
take
have
the
click
quiz.
For each one, or?
No.
And I'm gonna text it to the four of you.
I went straight. I didn't see this page. I have a
You
did.
said you get this, how did you know where to go?
Maybe I'm doing it all first. I was just a question.
Didn't hit.
Well, it was on the packet
The packet does
that she
have
sent, there was a link on it.
Oh,
And so I just,
You have to, yeah.
I just sent
while it
to
was
you.
playing, I
Open and public.
Then at the bottom.
logged on and took the quiz.
That one.
I typed this all in just as soon as you sent it to me. Took me a little while to type it in.
Come on, don't blow it, Gary. True.
Pending minutes.
It won't.
What's their email?
True, true, true. True, true.
And then true.
What? See, I told you, their answer is.
Oh, you got different questions.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah,
That's
do you
false.
have, did you
You
ever
got a different
sign
question.
my username prior
I didn't know
to
you could get different questions.
Yeah, because
I
I
didn't
already.
either. I think we must have gotten the same ones. It was
Yeah.
like true.
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 D, true.
Yeah.
and sign it, it should still
Then,
send it
and
to
they're
you.
like, oh, these guys are
Thanks,
cheating.
guys.
They knew we were cheating. No, you can retake it.
I'll only miss one, so.
We're sorry, Gary.
First time.
First time you.
Shenanigans.
The first time he cheated and he gets
I
caught.
did not. No, the first time I was peer pressured to select them the wrong answer.
Well, Chris and I had the same
We need to
quiz.
put up dividers while you take your quizzes.
I can't think of so much pressure.
That's interesting. Are you sure you're in the right one?
You would expect that they had random question generator.
Yeah, they do.
But
No, you wouldn't. I've taken state trainings at school before. They're all the same. Oh, man.
So what was my password, Bailey, do you remember?
No, you would have set that up on your own.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
I just created a new account with my new
You
county
agree to
email.
all of those.
Yeah, you can do that too if you want.
Something
Yeah.
about your immortal soul, something about.
There. The NSA is already taking my.
Yeah, exactly.
but you still pass.
Any, no, skip that question, I got nothing. Thanks for the 80. Congratulations.
I will find smarter people to cheat off of next.
Yes. Well, that is strange.
No, when I was reading it, I'm like, no, it's false.
No, the first one was true.
Okay.
Maybe we should have read it too.
In fact, I think they were almost like the same as last year. I didn't.
Yeah, it's just like the ones you get every year.
That's the website. Did you forward the link, or did you have to print it?
I just emailed.
Email the link? Yeah. I'll go this way, just because
I just emailed her the link to mine.
You should be able to download this.
Oh, there's a download PDF thing on there. I didn't see that.
You could have that sent to Kinko's and mount it on a plaque.
Yes.
There we go, boom. I'll just email it
We
to
could
you.
line them up across there.
I could.
whole wall.
We can like have like a special wall for people who got 100.
Yes, and the one that got 80% down at the bottom.
You don't take well not doing good on tests, do you?
I can't.
No, I don't. I take it very seriously. You probably figured that out by now.
Yeah.
Okay, where were we? Let me open this back up. All right. Did you get my input in for the meeting, mine and Dustin's,
Yeah.
for the minutes?
As always.
As always? Okay.
There was something that nobody caught that I caught before.
I caught the wrong date on the previous one that I signed. For the previous week's minutes, previous meeting minutes.
Oh, no, yeah.
Something.
It was whatever's in the packet, the July 14th minutes had the wrong date.
Oh,
Yeah.
I never look at the date, yeah.
I only did because I was signing it. But everybody else's you got?
Yep.
Okay. So, motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Wait a minute.
Aye.
Just put two names down. I don't even think you need a second to adjourn.